Remember Abraham, the one who received the promise yet had to pass through many years of waiting before seeing what I had spoken take shape. His body had grown weak. Sarah was far beyond the age of bearing children, and in human eyes, everything seemed to stand against the promise. But I am not limited by time, by age, or by the conclusions of circumstance. He did not waver at the promise of God, but grew strong in faith. Romans 4:20. Abraham's faith did not mature because he had every favorable piece of evidence. It matured because he learned to place his trust in the one who had promised. So it is with you. There are promises that do not come immediately because I am making you deep enough to receive them, steady enough to keep them, humble enough to steward them, and mature enough not to turn the blessing into an idol. There are days when you feel like a seed lying beneath the soil, covered by darkness, seen by no one, hearing no applause, seeing no great sign. But I say to you, the darkness of the soil is not a grave if I have placed life within it. In that hidden place, the old shell breaks open, new roots are formed, strength is gathered, and what has not yet been seen is being prepared to appear in its proper season. The earth produces by itself, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain in the ear. Mark 4:28. Do not dig up the soil out of impatience. Do not condemn yourself simply because you have not bloomed according to someone else's calendar. What I am doing within you has order, timing, depth, and it will not be lost simply because today you cannot yet see it all. I also want you to remember Jacob through those long years of serving and waiting. He passed through seasons of being shaped, of being confronted with his own character, of being placed in situations that required him to mature. And then at Jabbok, in the night of wrestling, he was given a new name. He was touched, and he walked differently after his encounter with me. My beloved child, many times what I am doing is not only changing your circumstances, but changing you. I do not only want you to receive an answer, I want you to become someone who can carry that answer with a purer heart. I do not only want you to arrive in a new land, I want you to enter it with an identity that has been healed. There are wrestlings in the night that do not steal your future. They mark you with a deeper dependence on me. Therefore, when the wind rises, do not be quick to think that you are being struck down. See it as an invitation for your roots to go deeper. When time stretches long, do not let your heart grow cold. Let the waiting become the place where I teach you to love me, not only for what I give, but because I, myself, am your life. When you do not yet see results, do not conclude that you have no worth. Your worth is not measured by the speed at which the things you long for are fulfilled, but by the love I have placed upon you and the work I am doing within you. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Philippians 1:6. I do not abandon what I have begun. I do not forget the seed I have planted. I do not lose sight of you in the middle of the process. My beloved child, keep looking upward. Do not let the storm take over your entire field of vision. Do not let delay misinterpret my love. Do not let long days persuade you that you are not growing. If you are still returning to me, you are being kept. If you are still choosing to believe before you see, your faith is maturing. If you are still moving forward, though, your heart trembles. My grace is at work within you. I do not lead you through trials to make you sink, but to teach you that deep waters must still obey the one who calls you. I do not make you wait in order to drain you, but so that you may receive new strength from the source that never runs dry. Remain in me, so that your roots may grow deep in my love. Your heart may stand firm in my faithfulness, and your life may bear fruit in its proper season by my grace. You do not need to grow quickly in order to be loved by me. You only need to remain in my hands, and I will make you deeper, steadier, purer, and stronger than you ever thought you could become. My beloved child, there are seasons when you look around and feel as though there is nothing you can do except stand still. You want to open a way, but you have no key. You want to hasten the answer, but you have no authority over the timing. You want to untangle every knot by yourself, but the more you try, the more you realize that your hands are too small for the things surrounding you. In hours like these, your heart may call waiting helplessness, silence, emptiness, and the inability to do anything more failure. But I speak to you with the tenderness of a father. When you no longer know what to do, that does not mean I do not know. When you cannot open the way, that does not mean the way cannot be opened. When your hands fall because your strength is spent, my hands have not grown weak. The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. Exodus 14:14. That silence is not surrender to despair, but a holy pause in which you recognize that ultimate power has never rested in your strength, but in me. Remember my people when they stood before the Red Sea. Before them was deep water. Behind them was the enemy. On both sides was the wilderness, and every way of escape, according to human sight, seemed to have closed. They could not part the sea by themselves. They could not make walls of water stand upright. They could not cause the ground beneath the sea to become a dry path. It was precisely in the place where man had no solution left that I revealed a solution belonging to heaven. I spoke through Moses. The staff was lifted up, and what had once been an obstacle became a pathway. Do you see? What stands before you like a wall can become a road when I speak. The place that makes you tremble can become the place you will one day look back on and say, "It was there that I saw God open a way." Your helplessness does not make me helpless. It only brings you to the place where you stop trusting in your own arm and begin to see my mighty arm. There are silences in your life that have not been appointed to torment you, but to turn your eyes from what has not yet happened back to the one who is still present. When you look only at the door that is not opened, your heart can easily be swallowed by disappointment. When you look only at the answer that has not come, your mind can easily build stories that wound you even more. When you look only at how far others have gone, you can easily forget that I am leading you according to a rhythm of your own, a path of your own, and a purpose of your own. But when you lift your eyes to me, you begin to see that waiting is not being forgotten. Waiting can be the place where the soul is anchored. David cried out, "My soul, wait silently for God alone, for my expectation is from Him." Psalm 62:5. Hear those words as a call meant for you. Do not let your soul run everywhere seeking answers in panic. Let it return and rest quietly in my faithfulness. I know that silence can make you feel empty. I know that waiting can cause you to question whether you are going the wrong way. But my child, not every kind of growth makes a sound. Not every preparation has an outward sign. Some of the most precious things within you are being formed where no one can see. I am deepening the roots before I allow the tree to rise high. I am strengthening the heart before entrusting responsibility. I am purifying motives before expanding influence. I am healing the weak places within you so that when what you have been waiting for arrives, it will not crush you beneath its weight. My word says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience." James 1:2-3. You do not need to rejoice because of pain itself, but you can rejoice in knowing that even pain is not wasted when it rests in my hands. Remember Ruth, the Moabite woman who passed through loss, left her homeland, and followed Naomi into a strange land where the future held no guarantee. At times, her life looked like nothing more than very small acts, gleaning grain in a field, caring for her mother-in-law, living faithfully through an ordinary day. with no trumpet sounding and no radiant promise visibly unfolding before her. But in those quiet steps, I was arranging an encounter, a redemption, a lineage that would later lead to David and still further into the plan of salvation. Do you see? While Ruth was simply doing the small thing in faithfulness, I was writing something great into history. So it is with you. Do not despise the days when you can only do the small portion placed before you. Do not consider hidden faithfulness meaningless. I can use an ordinary field to open a new chapter of life. Therefore, do not only ask, when will what I am waiting for come? Ask also, who am I becoming while I wait? For I am not only preparing the gift, I am preparing the one who will receive the gift. If you enter what was promised with a soul still ruled by fear, the blessing can become pressure. If you take hold of something good while your heart has not yet been healed, that good thing can be used to cover a wound instead of glorifying me. If you step through a great door without first learning humility in the small room, that very door can cause you to lose your direction. That is why I use waiting to teach you patience, silence to teach you discernment, delay to teach you endurance, and fruitless days to cleanse your heart from loving me only for what I give. My beloved child, when you feel as though you are standing still, remember that standing still in me is not the same as being stuck. There is a kind of stillness that comes from fear binding a person. But there is also a kind of stillness that comes from faith, knowing how to wait for heaven's command. There is a silence that is the speechlessness of despair. But there is also a silence in which the soul is learning to hear my voice more deeply. I want you to enter that second kind of stillness, where your heart is not paralyzed but anchored, where you do not abandon hope, but cease striving and panic, where you do not deny reality, but know that reality is not greater than the one who holds you. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. To know that I am God means you do not need to become the savior of your own life. To know that I am God means you can breathe. You can wait. You can trust. You can move when I speak and remain when I hold you still. And when my season comes, you will not only rejoice because you have received what you once prayed for, you will also realize that you yourself have been changed. You will see that you are calmer before the things that once made you afraid, deeper in the way you listen, softer in the way you love, steadier in the way you walk, and more humble in the way you carry blessing. You will understand that I did not waste the days when you thought nothing was happening. I used them to strengthen the inner part of you, to teach you to rely not on outcomes, but on me. As it is written, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. That renewed strength does not always come like a mighty wind that changes everything at once. Sometimes it comes as a new breath within the soul, helping you continue to live, continue to believe, and continue to keep your heart upright. In the season of waiting, I do not want you to live like someone suspended between hope and disappointment. I want you to live faithfully today. Care for the small thing I have placed in your hands. Keep your heart pure. Learn what must be learned. Let me heal what must be healed. Continue to sow what is good, even though the harvest has not yet come. Let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Galatians 6:9. The harvest has its appointed season, and the seed you sow today is not lost in my sight. Every prayer, every act of obedience, every time you choose faith instead of bitterness, every time you keep walking when you have not yet seen the result, all of it is recognized by me as precious seed. My beloved child, I know there are very real longings within your heart, the longing to be confirmed, the longing to see a sign, the longing for a door to open, the longing for a clear answer, so you no longer have to guess. I do not consider those desires small, but I want you to remember that I am not only concerned with what you receive, I am concerned with who you become when you receive it. A great blessing requires a firmly anchored heart. A deep calling requires a soul that is not easily made proud by praise or shattered by criticism. A wide door requires feet that know how to walk in humility. Therefore, when I say, "Not yet," it is not a word meant to exclude you. It is the word of a father who is protecting both the gift and the child who will one day carry that gift. So rest in my hands. Do not take delay as evidence against my love. Do not take silence as a sentence over your future. Do not take what you cannot yet see as a reason to bury your faith. I am working in the deep soil, in the hidden place, in the details you cannot control. I am preparing you through quiet lessons, through necessary pruning, through seasons of waiting that make your heart larger. And when the time comes, you will understand why I did not give it sooner, why I held you back longer, why I taught you to stand firm before leading you forward. Then you will not only receive the blessing with open hands, but you will carry it with a mature soul, one that knows how to give thanks, how to steward, and how to use what I give to glorify me. Trust me in the process. My child, the seed is growing, even though you cannot yet see it. The promise is moving toward you, even though you cannot yet hear its footsteps. And I, the Father who is never wrong in my timing, I'm still leading all things into the proper seal of your grace. I know there are questions you have carried in your heart for a long time, not because you do not believe, but because you are tired. You wonder why the thing you prayed for has not yet come to pass, why what you long for still seems far away, why a door seems to keep closing, even though you have prayed with all your heart. Sometimes you lift your eyes to the sky, and it feels so silent that your heart begins to wonder whether your words have reached me at all. But, my child, I do not rebuke you for having questions. I do not push you away simply because your heart is still confused. A child can rest his head upon his father's chest and still ask questions through tears. What matters is that you do not let those questions pull you out of my arms. Bring each concern and lay it before me, not as an accusation, but as an act of surrender. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. I am not asking you to deny your worry. I am inviting you to give it to the one who is great enough to carry it for you. You look at time through the limits of the present. You see the days passing. You see yourself still standing in a place that is not yet fully clear. You see others seemingly moving faster, receiving sooner, arriving before you. But I see from the beginning to the end. You see a bend in the road and worry because you do not know what lies beyond it. I see the whole path. You see a closed door and think you have been rejected. I see a turning that is protecting you from what does not belong to the future I have appointed for you. You see a delay. I see preparation. You see a pause. I see a place for your soul to regain its breath before stepping into what comes next. For my thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways. Isaiah 55:8. That word was not spoken to make you feel that I am distant, but to help you rest in the truth that I encompass more than your sight can hold. What you do not understand is not outside my wisdom. What you have not yet seen is not outside my hand. Remember Abraham, the one who received the promise, yet had to pass through many years of waiting. He heard me speak of descendants, of blessing, of something greater than his natural ability could produce. But as time passed, his body grew old. Sarah was far beyond the age of bearing children, and in human eyes, the promise seemed to become more unreasonable with every passing day. Yet I am not limited by human age, nor am I defeated by what appears dried up in the eyes of the world. When Isaac was born, it was not only an answer for one family, it was the laughter of faithfulness. the proof that I can cause a promise to bloom at its appointed time. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Genesis 18:14. My beloved child, what I have spoken over your life does not grow weaker simply because time has stretched long. Many times, time does not drain the promise of its strength. Time makes the one who receives the promise deep enough to understand its worth. Therefore, do not call my timing late simply because it does not match your impatience. I do not come too early and damage what is still being formed, nor do I come too late and lose what belongs to you. I know when a door must be held back so that your heart can be healed first. I know when a person must leave so they do not pull you away from the path I have prepared. I know when an opportunity should not yet open, because if you stepped into it too soon, the pressure within it could make you collapse. I know when to cut away, when to preserve, when to hide, and when to reveal. Like a wise gardener, I am not only concerned with the fruit, I am concerned with the roots. Like a refiner, I do not merely look at the outward form. I know what fire is necessary for the gold to be purified. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, Malachi 3:3. Refining is not destruction. It is love, making what is precious within you shine more brightly. There are silences I allow not to punish you, but to bring you into a depth that noise cannot teach. In the silence, you learn to hear my voice more clearly than the voice of fear. In the silence, you learn to discern the difference between what you want immediately and what I want to make lasting. In the silence, you learn that your worth is not found in the speed at which things happen. You are not less loved because you are waiting. You are not abandoned because the answer has not yet come. You are not on the wrong path simply because you have not yet seen the whole picture. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him, Psalm 37:7. That stillness is not numbness, it is a faith-filled rest. The place where your soul stops beating against doors I have not opened and begins to trust that your Father knows the way. Remember Hannah, who carried the pain of childlessness for many years and poured out her soul before me in the temple. Her tears were not forgotten, and her prayers did not dissolve into emptiness. But the timing of my answer did not merely give a child to a grieving mother, it brought forth Samuel, a prophet placed into history to hear my voice and lead my people. Do you see? Sometimes what you are praying for does not concern you alone. Some of my answers are woven into a wider, deeper picture, touching more people than you imagine. If I delay, it is not because I am indifferent to your tears, but because what I am preparing carries a meaning greater than your present moment. Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, Psalm 126:5. I do not waste a single tear sown in trust. So, my beloved child, when your heart wants to hurry and dig up the soil to check the seed, stop and place your hand in mine. Let me keep you from the haste that wounds what is still tender. Let me teach you patience without bitterness, expectation without despair, prayer without control, and forward movement without needing to see everything. There are things growing within you, even when you think you are standing still. Tenderness is returning. Trust is being restored. Discernment is becoming sharper. Endurance is growing deeper. And love is becoming purer. That too is growth. My child, not every movement is loud. Not every kind of progress receives applause. But I see. I know. I am working. And there will come a day when you look back on the seasons that felt delayed and recognize that my wisdom preserved you from many things you once did not understand. You will see that some closed doors were mercy. Some answers not yet given were protection. Some detours were guidance. Some silences were the place where I built within you a foundation that could not be seen, yet could not be missing. When the fullness of time comes, you will no longer call it delay. You will call it grace in its proper season. You will understand that I was not slow, I did not forget. I did not lose the rhythm. I was present in every day of waiting, every night of questioning, every tear, every time you chose to believe just a little more. And what I bring will not only be what you desired, but what your heart has been prepared to carry with maturity, peace, and gratitude. So rest, my child. Do not let the question when steal my presence from today. Do not let what is not yet opened blind you to what I am already giving. Do not let the silence of the sky make you forget that the roots beneath the soil are still growing. I am the one who holds time in my hand, the one who sees the whole road, the one who knows what must be withheld and what will be given at the right moment. Trust me when you cannot yet see. Wait for me when you do not yet understand. Walk with me when you do not have the full answer. For I am the Father who loves you beyond what you can measure, wiser than anything you can imagine, and more faithful than every changing season. What I am preparing will come in, my light. And when it comes, you will know that every silence was used by me to bring you closer to the fullness my love had already prepared for you. My beloved child, lift your eyes and let your heart remember what self-blame has made you forget. If I am sustaining the heavens, if I set the sun in its proper course, if I call each star by name and not one of them falls beyond my sight, then why would you think your life is outside my care? You can look at the night sky and marvel at the vastness of my work. Yet when you turn back to yourself, you bow your head as though I made you carelessly, as though you were a flaw in the hands of the one who formed all things. My child, do not let sorrow lie to you like that. Do not let the crooked measuring rods of the world measure a soul I have marked with my own seal. You are not weighed by appearance. You are not valued by the speed of success. And you are not named by the applause or silence of people. I have spoken, I have called you by name, you are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When you belong to me, your identity no longer rests in the changing things outside you, but in the unchanging love of your Father. There are days when you look around and see others seemingly moving faster, shining brighter, standing stronger, being loved more, and receiving more recognition. Then you place your life beside theirs, using comparison like a distorted mirror. And from there you conclude that you are not enough. But, my beloved child, comparison often shows you only what you lack while hiding what I have planted within you. It magnifies the light of others until you forget the lamp I have placed within your own heart. It keeps you so busy watching someone else's journey that you miss the footprints of grace on the path I am leading you through. Each person has a season, a rhythm, a field, and a calling. A grain of wheat does not need to despise itself because it does not bloom like a lily. A stream does not need to feel ashamed because it does not roar like the sea. I did not create you to copy another life. I created you to reflect me through the unique beauty I have placed within your soul. Remember the day Samuel came to the house of Jesse to find the one who would be anointed. The sons who were tall, strong, and worthy-looking in human eyes passed before him one by one. Samuel saw their stature and thought that perhaps the chosen one was standing before him. But I spoke a word that silenced every human measure. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. While every eye was turned toward the impressive ones in the house, I saw David out in the field, where there was no stage, no trumpet, no crowd offering praise. I saw him as he cared for the sheep, as he sang to me in the hidden place, as he learned courage before the lion and the bear when no one was there to recognize him. Do you see? What people overlook is never overlooked by me. Where others do not see, I still see. Where others do not call your name, I still call. Where you think you are small, I can still place holy anointing. Therefore, Do not let outside voices take the right to define you. Perhaps you have heard words that made your heart shrink. Perhaps you have been judged by appearance, by results, by a season that has not yet succeeded, by a mistake, or by something you have not yet had time to become. Perhaps those words passed quickly from someone else's mouth, yet stayed for a long time in your mind. You allowed them to build narrow rooms within your heart, and then you locked yourself inside them. But I do not call you by those names. I do not call you inadequate, late, useless, or forgotten. I call you my child. I call you known, kept, and created with purpose, for we are His workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. Ephesians 2:10. You are not an accident trying to survive. You are the work of my hands, being revealed in the proper season. I know you are often harsher with yourself than anything I have ever required of you. When you fail, you strike yourself with heavy words. When you have not reached the place of the person beside you, you quietly lower your own worth. When you see someone else being lifted up, instead of rejoicing in the spaciousness of love, your heart aches because you think their portion is proof that you have none. But my child, my kingdom does not operate according to such scarcity. The light of another does not extinguish your own. Their calling does not cancel yours. Their season of blooming does not mean your seed has been forgotten beneath the soil. In my house there are many rooms. In my plan there are many voices. In my body there are many members, and each member has its own beauty and function. There are diversities of gifts, but the same Spirit. 1 Corinthians 2:4. Difference is not inferiority. Difference is my wisdom distributing grace in many forms. Remember Bezalel, whom I filled with my Spirit for skillful work in the tabernacle, carving, crafting with gold and silver, working with precious wood, and shaping details that many might consider hidden or quiet. Exodus 31:2-5. He did not stand before the sea like Moses. He did not lead battles like Joshua. He did not sing the Psalms like David. But what I placed in his hands was also holy. Do you see? Not every calling looks the same. Some are called to speak before crowds, while others are called to build in hidden places. Some are called to lead the way, while others are called to heal, support, create, care, intercede, listen, and preserve. If Bezalel had despised himself because he was not like Moses, he would have missed the beauty I placed in his hands. So it is with you. Do not neglect your own gift simply because it does not look like someone else's. My beloved child, learn to see yourself through my eyes. When I look at you, I do not only see what you still lack, I see what I am forming. I do not only see your weak places, I see where grace will become strong. I do not only see the days when you move slowly, I see your roots growing deep. I do not only see tears, I see seeds being watered. I do not only see the softness you once considered weakness, I see mercy that can touch others. I do not only see the sensitivity that makes you easily wounded, I see the ability to discern what is subtle, the ability to empathize, the ability to pray from a deeper place. Do not hate what I can use. Do not despise the material I am shaping. Do not be quick to call what is within you small before I have completed my work. When you stop living by comparison, your heart will begin to be free. You will be able to rejoice with those who rejoice without feeling diminished. You will be able to learn from others without losing yourself. You will be able to walk slowly without shame, walk quickly without pride, and stand still without fear, because you know your rhythm rests in my hands. You do not need to prove your worth by becoming like someone else. You only need to be faithful to what I have entrusted to you. In the season, I have placed you. With an upright heart before me, commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. I do not ask you to carry someone else's journey. I only invite you to walk fully in the journey I have prepared for you. Therefore, lay down those distorted measuring rods. Lay down the voice that tells you your worth exists only when you are seen. Lay down the fear that if you do not achieve this or possess that, you will be less loved in my eyes. Lay down the habit of bowing your head before standards I never placed upon you. Lift your face, not in pride, but in the dignity of one who knows they were created by the God who makes no mistakes. The whole universe rests under my rule, and so do you. The stars have their place. The birds of the air have their provision. The flowers of the field have their own beauty, and you have a place in my heart. You are not called to become a faded copy of someone else. You are called to reveal my image in the unique way I have engraved within you. Walk in that truth. My child, when the voice of comparison returns, remember that I look at the heart. When insecurity pulls your eyes down to the ground, remember that I have called you by name. When you feel small, remember that David was also in the wilderness field before he was anointed. When your gift feels hidden, remember that Bezalel served me with skillful hands in the holy place. Nothing I have placed within you is meaningless when it is offered back to me. Let me heal the way you see yourself, so you no longer live as one who is lesser in your own story. You are mine, created with purpose, loved with an unchanging love, and kept in my unfailing care. And when you stop trying to become someone else, the unique light I have placed within you will begin to shine out in a pure, humble, and beautiful way, like a star standing in its rightful place in the sky I have made. My beloved child, many times you have tried to build a better version of yourself, as though my love were waiting at the top of a high ladder and you had to climb with all your strength before you could reach it. You have set conditions within your own heart. When you are stronger, when you are purer, when you stumble less, when you achieve this, correct that, and overcome every shadow within yourself, then perhaps you will be worthy to be held by me. But my child, hear me with all tenderness and truth. My son did not die for an ideal version of you, beast I are straining to become. He died for you in the truth of who you are, in the middle of what is unfinished, in the middle of wounds not yet healed, in the middle of the weaknesses you are afraid to look at for too long. But God demonstrates his own love toward us, in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Romans 5:8. That love did not wait for you to become complete before it began. It began in the very place where you were still imperfect, so that from there grace could lift you up and transform you. Therefore, do not turn your spiritual journey into an exhausting negotiation, where you are always trying to prove that you are good enough to remain close to me. The cross is not a trading table where you bring achievements, tears, effort, or self-control in exchange for mercy. The cross is the place where my love gave itself before you had anything worthy to offer. When your hands were empty, my son stretched out his hands upon the wood. When you did not yet know the way home, grace had already opened the way. When you were still tangled in the broken pieces of yourself, mercy had already called your name. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. Ephesians 2:8. You cannot purchase what I have given by blood. You can only bow your heart and receive it. Then allow that love to renew you from within. I know you often think you must repair everything in yourself before you dare to come near me. You want to wipe away all the dust of the road before stepping into the Father's house. You want to rearrange your mind, discipline your emotions, overcome every temptation, understand every wound, and only then feel that you have the right to pray in peace. But my beloved child, a sick person does not need to heal himself before coming to the physician. A lost one does not need to find the whole road before being lifted onto the shepherd's shoulders. A child does not need to make himself perfect before returning to the Father's embrace. My son said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick." Mark 2:17. I do not invite you to come because you are already healed. I invite you to come so you may be healed. I do not call you near because you are already bright enough. I call you into the light so darkness may lose its power over you. Remember the woman who was dragged into the middle of the crowd in shame. Those standing around her held stones in their hands and accusations in their mouths. She was exposed before the eyes of others in the weakest moment of her life. And perhaps in her heart, she believed that her story would end beneath the weight of sin and disgrace. But my son stood there, between her and the stones. He did not call sin meaningless, but neither did he allow condemnation to become the final voice over her soul. When her accusers left one by one, he asked, "Has no one condemned you?" And then said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." John 8:10-11. Do you see? Grace does not deny the truth. Grace opens a way beyond that painful truth and leads into a new life. So it is with you. There are times when, within your heart, it feels as though a crowd is holding stones. Old memories hold stones. Words once spoken by others hold stones. Disappointment in yourself holds stones. Shame holds stones. And many times you yourself have stood on the side of the accusers, throwing stones at your own soul. But I do not stand in the same line as condemnation. I stand between you and the voices that want to make you die in guilt. I do not say that what is wrong is right, but I do say that what was wrong has no right to define you when you return in grace. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Romans 8:1. If there is no condemnation in Christ, then do not continue building a courtroom within your heart to condemn what I am restoring. Remember also the thief on the cross beside my son. He had no more time to build an admirable life, no opportunity left to repair his past through great deeds, and nothing in his hands to offer except one plea in his final hour: Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And my son answered, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Luke 23:42-43. My beloved child, that is grace. Not a cheap grace that treats sin lightly, but a powerful grace able to save a soul that has nothing left except a sincere turning back. If I could hear that cry from the cross, I can also hear the cry of your heart today. If I did not reject the one who had nothing left to prove, I will not reject you when you come to me with empty hands, but a truthful heart. Therefore, do not let the desire to become better turn into a whip against your soul. I want you to mature, but I do not want you to grow by hating yourself. I want you to be made holy. But true sanctification is not born from shame, it is born from love. I want you to step out of darkness, but not through the fear that I will abandon you if you move slowly. You are not transformed by endlessly staring at your failures. You are transformed by looking to the one who loved you to the end. We love because he first loved us. 1 John 4:19. My love comes first, and your response grows from there. Grace comes first, and then your obedience becomes pure. Acceptance in Christ comes first, and then you gain the courage to release what no longer belongs to the new life. When I look at you, I do not see you through the lens of your final failure. I see you through my Son, through the blood that was poured out, through the resurrection life now working within you. I see the places that need healing, but I also see the person you are becoming. I see the places that are still weak, but I also see grace sufficient to sustain you. I see the cracks, but I also see the light that can shine through those very places. Do not think I only notice the times you fall. I also see the times you rise again. Do not think I only hear strong prayers. I also hear the faint sigh when you no longer know what to say. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. Brokenness brought before me is not despised. It becomes the place where I begin to make things new. My beloved child, stop running from me simply because you feel you are not enough. Come near with the whole truth of who you are. Bring the places that are still dark. Not so they may be used to shame you, but so they may be brought into the light. Bring your failures. Not so they may crush you, but so you may be taught and restored. Bring your imperfections. Not so I may turn away, but so I may prove that my love is greater than everything you fear. I do not love an imaginary version of you. I love you, the real you standing before me. The one still learning to trust, still learning to walk, still learning to let go, still learning to live as one who has been redeemed. And that very love will not leave you in the old chains. It will lift you, wash you, correct you, teach you, and lead you into a deeper freedom. Therefore, look to the cross whenever you are tempted to condemn yourself. Look at the hands that were stretched out when yours were empty. Look at the love that came before you had time to change. Look at the one who did not wait for you to become perfect before giving his life. And let that truth break the lie that says you must be worthy before you can be loved. You are loved first and transformed afterward. You are embraced first and healed afterward. You are called mine first and then taught to walk in that dignity afterward. Receive grace, my child. Rise from the place of shame. Step out from the crowd of accusers within your heart. I do not look at you through failure. I look at you through redeeming love. And in that love, you will find not only forgiveness, but a new beginning, a new life, and a new identity established firmly in my never-ending grace. My beloved child, do not let the timeline make you think that I too am imprisoned within the limits that make your heart anxious. You look back at the past and see fractures, wrong decisions, regrettable roads, moments when your heart was weak, and times when you wish you could go back and do things differently. But I do not look at your past as a wall that cannot be crossed. I am not bound by what has happened, nor am I made powerless by the things you once did wrong. I am holy enough to call sin, sin, but I am also rich enough in mercy not to let that sin become your final name. I am great enough to cover, powerful enough to redeem, and wise enough to turn what once made you ashamed into a place where my grace is revealed. Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21:5. Let that word sink deep into your heart. I do not only wipe away tears, I also make new the places that seemed ruined. There are things in your life that were wounded by others, things you yourself tangled, and consequences that made you believe your future had become smaller. But my child, I am the one who can step into the middle of the broken pieces you do not know how to arrange and make a story that no longer carries only the mark of pain, but the mark of redemption. Remember Joseph. He was sold by his own brothers, separated from his father's house, taken into a foreign land, falsely accused while he was still living uprightly, and imprisoned in a place where the dream seemed to have died. If seen only through human eyes, his life was one injustice after another. But I did not lose Joseph in the pit, in Potiphar's house, in the prison, or in the years when he was forgotten. When the right time came, I lifted him up to preserve many lives, and he was able to say, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. Do you see? what others used to wound you, what the past used to make you bow your head, I can still place into the hands of redemption and turn into a testimony of my faithfulness. So do not call everything that has passed useless. Do not think one failure has enough authority to erase the whole journey. Do not believe that because you once fell, you are no longer allowed to step into what I have prepared. I do not build your future on the perfection of your past, but on my grace in the present. Some lessons are born only from tears. Some depths are formed only after seasons when you thought you had lost your way. Some mercies become tender within you only after you yourself have known what it means to need mercy. I do not cause every painful thing in order to make you suffer, but when you surrender those things to me, I have the authority to take even them and weave them into a new garment of wisdom, humility, and glory. All things work together for good to those who love God, Romans 8:28. Not all things are good in themselves, but in my hands. All things can be placed into a good purpose. My beloved child, I also know the battles no one else sees within your heart. I know the temptations that return in your weary hours, the thoughts you must resist in silence, the old tendencies that make you fear you will return to the place from which you were once pulled out. I know the moments when you want to live in the light, yet still feel a quiet pull, trying to draw you back into familiar darkness. But I do not stand outside the battlefield waiting for you to win by yourself before I come near. I do not say, when you are strong enough. I will help when you are clean enough. I will listen when you have proven enough. I will show mercy. I have promised, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. That word is not only for the days when you stand firm, it is also for the moments when you are trembling in the middle of the battle. When you step into a hidden battle, I have already been there before you. Before you can name the fear, I already know what is threatening your heart. When all you have left is a very short, very weak, very honest prayer, Father, please help me. I have heard it. Do not be ashamed that you need to be upheld. Do not let weakness make you hide from me. Weakness brought before me is not the place where you are rejected. It is the place where my power has room to be revealed. My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. You do not need to pretend that you are not tempted. You only need to stop fighting alone in the dark. Bring that battle into my light. Because in the light there is truth. There is a way out. There is wisdom. And there is grace that lifts you back to your feet. Remember David when he had to flee into the cave, surrounded by fear, danger, and intense emotions. His circumstances were not always easy, but he learned to pour out his heart before me. He said, I will cry out to God Most High, to God who performs all things for me. Psalm 57:2. Do you see? David's refuge was not only the cave around him, but my presence within him. You also need such a refuge in the middle of the battles of your heart. Not a place where you hide sin, but a place where you run into me, to be protected from the voices that want to push you into despair, and to be reminded that this battle is not greater than the one who is with you. Do not think my help comes too late. Sometimes you long for an immediate change, an instant feeling of strength, a miracle that makes every temptation disappear forever. But many times, I help you by opening a very specific way out, a small step of obedience, a reminder in your heart, a healthy person who supports you, a gentle warning before you go too far, a strength just sufficient for you to say no in that moment. My word says, God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will also make the way of escape. 1 Corinthians 10:13. You are not trapped as fear tells you. There is always a way out that I prepare, even if that way sometimes requires humility, watchfulness, and turning away the moment I call. And if you stumble, return immediately. Do not remain in shame. Do not let the enemy use one fall to convince you that everything is over. Do not turn repentance into self-torment. And do not turn grace into something you only dare to receive after you have punished yourself long enough. If we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. 1 John 1:9. Pay attention to what I have spoken. I do not only forgive, I also cleanse. Forgiveness is not a reward after you have won every battle. Forgiveness is the grace that draws you back in the middle of the battle. So you no longer continue fighting as one condemned, but as a child being restored. When you confess with a truthful heart, I do not turn my face away. I wash you, lift you, teach you, and lead you into a new way of life. Remember the man who had been paralyzed for many years beside the pool of Bethesda, believing he was trapped in a condition that would never change. When my son came to him, he did not ask whether the man had become worthy enough. He asked, "Do you want to be made well?" and then said, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." John 5:6-8. My beloved child, there are places within you that have also lain long in helplessness, accustomed to excuses, accustomed to the feeling that things cannot be different. But my word has the authority to call you to rise from what has held you for too long, not by your own strength, but by the power of the one who speaks life into dry places. I do not only forgive you so you may remain lying beside the old pool, I restore you so you may walk in new freedom. Therefore, when temptation is strong, remember that I am stronger. When the past speaks loudly, remember that I am greater. When fear comes near, remember that I am nearer. When you see your own weakness, run to my strength instead of hiding in self-blame. When you are being pulled back toward darkness, call upon my name. Open your mouth in prayer. Step away from what is weakening you, and choose the light even while your heart is still trembling. You do not fight in order to earn my love, as though each victory makes me love you more. You fight from the foundation of already being loved, already being redeemed, already being called mine. It is that love that makes you courageous. It is that grace that teaches you to say no to what destroys you. It is that presence that helps you rise again after every moment of weakness. My child, keep walking in vigilance, but do not walk in fear. Be serious about sin, but do not despair of grace. Take responsibility, but do not condemn yourself. Learn healthy paths, necessary boundaries, and wise decisions. But always remember that your strength does not come from perfect control. It comes from abiding in me. I am not limited by your past, not powerless before your battle, not slow to uphold you, and not poor in mercy when you return. Let me redeem what is past, strengthen you in the present, and lead you into a future no longer ruled by shame, but upheld by grace. For I am your Father, the one who is with you in the battle, who opens a way in the midst of temptation, who forgives when you confess, and who turns even the places where you once fell into a testimony that my love is always greater than the darkness. My beloved child, do not look for me only in the places you have learned to call holy, as though my presence were found only in one room, one ritual, 1 hour of prayer, or one open page of scripture before you. Those things are precious, and I meet you there, but I am not confined within the limits human beings build. I am not so small that I must wait for you to step into a special place before I can come near. I am not so distant that I am present only when you feel solemn enough, focused enough, or spiritual enough. Heaven is my throne, and earth is my footstool. Isaiah 66:1. So understand that not one corner of your life lies beyond my touch. I am in the place where you kneel in prayer, but I am also in your footsteps through an ordinary day. I am in the scripture you read through tears, but I am also in the quiet breath you take when your heart needs to be soothed. I am in the church, but I am also in the small kitchen, on the familiar road, in the repeated work, in the yard after the rain, and in the moments you think are not significant at all. You often think ordinary life is too small to carry traces of me. But, my child, it is often in the small things that I hide my gentlest reminders. When you open your eyes in the morning and can still take a deep breath, that is not merely the reaction of the body. It is the gift of life I have placed in you for one more day. When the first light of morning passes through the window, when a soft breeze touches your skin, when you hear birdsong somewhere in the air, remember that I am still holding the rhythm of the world. And within that rhythm is your life as well. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights, James 1:17. Great miracles are not the only gifts. Sometimes a peaceful day, a simple meal, someone asking about you at just the right time, or a silence that no longer feels as heavy as before, is also grace, dressed in ordinary clothing, drawing near to you. Learn to seek me in the rhythm of everyday life, not with hurried eyes, but with a heart that knows how to pause. When you see the sunset descending and the light softening along the horizon, hear me reminding you that even a weary day can close in grace. I do not let darkness fall as a hopeless ending. I allow it to come so your body may rest, your heart may become still, and tomorrow may open again with new mercies. Through the Lord's mercies we are not consumed, because his compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Lamentations 3:22-23. When you look at the fading evening, do not think only of what remains unfinished. Remember that I am still covering your day with a gentle layer of light, like a promise that what is not yet complete can still be placed into my hands. And when you see the eyes of someone who truly loves you, when you hear a clear and innocent laugh, when you feel a hand holding yours in a moment of weakness, do not consider it mere coincidence. True love among human beings is a small reflection of my love, though it can never contain all my depth. When a child laughs innocently, I am reminding you of the simplicity your soul once lost because of too much worry. When someone forgives you, I am letting you taste mercy beforehand. When someone listens to you without rushing to judge, I am showing you that your heart does not always need to defend itself. Remember what my son said, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 18:3. Not so that you may become foolish, but so that you may learn again purity, trust, and joy without pretense. There are times when I speak to you through creation more than you realize. The gentle wind moving through the trees is not only the motion of air, it can be a whisper that there are things you cannot see which are still being governed by me. The scent of the earth after rain is not only the fragrance of the ground, it is a testimony that after the storm, life can still rise again, and places once cracked and dry can become soft beneath healing water. A seedling breaking through the soil is not only natural growth, it is a silent sermon about hope, process, and life, working even while hidden. Remember when I spoke to Job from the whirlwind? I did not answer only with explanations in the way human beings expect. I led him to look at the foundations of the earth, the sea, the clouds, the morning stars, and the creatures I sustain and rule over. Job 38. I reveal my power not only in the sanctuary, but in the whole universe, breathing under my command. Remember Moses in the wilderness. when he was tending sheep on a day that seemed no different from any other. He was not standing in a palace, not in the middle of a solemn ceremony, not hearing trumpets or seeing crowds. Yet there, in the burning bush that was not consumed, I called him by name. I turned ordinary ground into holy ground by my presence alone. I said, "Do not draw near this place. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place where you stand is holy ground." Exodus 3:5. Do you see? The ground is not holy because of its outward appearance. It becomes holy because I am present. In the same way, your ordinary moments can become places of holy encounter if you recognize that I am there. A small task, a sincere conversation, a quiet meal, a road home, a moment when you pause to breathe and remember me. All of these can become a burning bush if your heart knows how to listen. Therefore, do not divide your life into two parts, as though one part belongs to me and the other is merely ordinary. I want to enter your whole life. I want to be present in the way you work, the way you rest, the way you care for your body, the way you look at the person beside you, the way you respond to small inconveniences, and the way you guard your heart in the things no one sees. Whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. This does not make your life heavier, it makes your life brighter. When everything is offered to me, even simple things carry the fragrance of worship. A gentle word can be an offering. A faithful action can be a prayer. A moment of gratitude can open the door for my presence to fill the place you thought was only ordinary. My beloved child, practice recognizing me not only in what is great, but also in what is near. See me in the sound of falling rain, in the sky after the storm, in loving eyes, in the gentle return of peace after a wind-tossed day, in the fact that you can still rise, still breathe, still hope, and still love. Do not wait until everything becomes radiant before believing that I am near. Many times, I come in a still, small voice, as I came to Elijah, not in the great wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the deep quiet where the soul recognizes the voice of its Father. 1 Kings 19:11-12. If you only seek me in the extraordinary, you may miss me in the ordinary. If you only wait for thunder, you may fail to hear the whisper. So walk through this day with eyes opened by grace. When you work, remember that I am with you. When you rest, remember that I do not require you to exhaust yourself in order to be loved. When you walk through crowded streets, remember that I still know your name. When you sit alone, remember that my presence does not depend on the voices around you. When you look at the sky, the earth, a leaf, a raindrop, or a beloved face, let your heart quietly say, Father is here. I am not far away. I am not confined. I am not only in the places you call sacred, I make ordinary life sacred when you recognize me within it. And the more you learn to see this way, the more you will understand that your whole life can become a living temple, where every breath, every step, every tear, and every small joy is covered by the presence that never leaves you. My beloved child, there are seasons when I do not place before your eyes the whole long road, because if you were to see every turn, every valley, every mountain peak, and every waiting place, your heart might grow weary before your feet even had the strength to move. I do not hide things from you because I want to confuse you. I veil what you do not yet need to see, so that your soul may learn to depend on me with every breath. You do not need to hold the map of the entire journey in your hands in order to obey. You only need to recognize the direction toward which I am gently drawing your heart. Sometimes that direction is not loud, not radiant like a sign in the heavens, but it comes as a quiet peace placed within your chest, as a calling that does not make you afraid, but causes you to want to rise. Remember that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. As it is written in Hebrews 11:1, what you have not yet seen does not mean it does not exist. What you have not yet touched does not mean I have not prepared it. And what you have not fully understood does not mean I am not guiding you. I know there are hidden questions within your heart. You wonder whether you have enough strength, whether you are truly hearing my voice, whether this step will lead you to the place I promised or only bring you into another emptiness. But my child, my guidance often does not begin with absolute clarity. It begins with a gentle chaukan, take one more step with me. When Peter saw the Lord Jesus walking on the sea, he was not given a bridge of stone, nor was he guaranteed that the wind would cease immediately. He only heard one command, come. And in that moment, the water became the place where faith was tested, not because the sea was stronger than me, but because I wanted him to know that what sustained him was not the water, but the one who was calling him. You are the same. What holds you is not how stable your circumstances are, but my voice calling you to step out of the familiar place. When your eyes are fixed on me, what once frightened you will no longer have the authority to determine your destiny. Therefore, do not despise the small step you are being urged to take today. In the eyes of people, it may seem insignificant. In your own eyes, it may still feel too fragile, but in my order, one small act of obedience can open a great river. The tiny mustard seed does not bear the appearance of a great tree while it is still lying in the palm of the hand. Yet within it is life that the soil, the rain, and the light will awaken. I do not always give you the harvest before you sow, nor do I always give you applause before you remain faithful. There are things that are opened only after you dare to set your foot where I have shown you. Just as the people of Israel stood before the Jordan River, the waters did not part while they stood at a distance and calculated. The waters began to give way when the feet of the priests touched the edge of the river. My beloved child, there are waters in your life that are also waiting for such a step of obedience. Do not allow the feeling of weakness to become the reason you lock yourself away. I see every part you try to hide, the hesitation, the weariness, the memories of failure, the times when you thought you were strong but trembled again before a new threshold. I do not condemn you because you tremble. I do not withdraw from you because you are not yet steady. I do not choose you based on the perfect appearance you try to create. I look deeper, into the place where your heart still wants to belong to me, still wants to hear me, still wants to live for what is pure. When Paul heard my word, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. It was not a word meant to make him ashamed of his imperfection, but a word that opened his eyes to see that human lack can become the very place where my glory is revealed. You do not need to pretend that you do not need me. It is precisely when you lift your empty hands toward me that I place in them what is beyond your own strength. Perhaps you think you must shine brightly through achievement, through a loud voice, through the recognition of others before you can have influence. But I tell you that true light does not need to show itself off in order to be recognized. A lamp placed in the right place can soften the darkness of an entire room. A soul that abides in me can bring peace into a place of chaos without needing to say much. The Lord himself declared, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." In Matthew 5:14, you are not called to act like light, you are called to abide in the source of light. When you live near me, your presence will carry a different fragrance. People may not be able to name it, but they will sense it. There is in you a stillness that does not belong to the world, a kindness that has not been swallowed by bitterness, and a hope that no storm has been able to extinguish. And then you will understand that your life is not only your own story. What I am healing in you will become an anointing oil for the wounds of others. What I am teaching you in the hidden place will one day become a word of strength for a weary soul. What I am lighting within your heart will not stop with you, because my grace always has a flow. When Joseph was sold, misunderstood, and imprisoned, he could not yet see the day when he would become a source of preservation for many nations in a time of famine. But I was quietly using every season that seemed forgotten to place him in the right position. So do not be quick to draw conclusions about your journey when you have only seen a narrow stretch of the road. There are years you thought were delays, yet they were truly preparation. There are doors that close not to make you lose something, but to keep you from entering a place that was never meant for you. Therefore, stop demanding that every answer appear before you are willing to believe. I do not despise wisdom, but I do not want your reasoning to become a throne that replaces faith. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. As Psalm 119, 105 has revealed, a lamp for the feet does not illuminate the entire distant horizon. It gives enough light for the next step. That is how I teach you to mature, not by giving you control over the whole future, but by allowing you to discover my faithfulness through each step that is illuminated. As you walk, you will see more. As you obey, you will understand more deeply. As you trust, your heart will gradually recognize that I have never led you into any place where my grace was not sufficient to preserve you. My beloved child, do not shrink back because you fear you are not ready. The greatest readiness is not that you already possess every ability, but that you have opened your heart for me to work through you. Do not wait until you no longer tremble before you step, because many times courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to keep holding my hand while you are still trembling. Do not wait until everyone understands you before you remain faithful, because there are things I have placed within you that first need only my confirmation. Walk in gentleness, but do not lose heart. Be humble, but do not deny the light I have given you. Be tender before me, but stand firm before the voices that try to make you forget to whom you belong. I am with you in the first step, in the middle step, in the uncertain step, in the step filled with tears, and in the step that will one day blossom. You only need to walk with me today. Tomorrow still rests in the hands of the one who loved you before you even knew how to call his name. My beloved child, when you look back on the days that have passed, I do not want you to count only the wounds, nor do I want you to remember only how deeply you once hurt. I want you to see with eyes opened by grace, so that you may recognize that this journey is not merely the story of a soul trying to survive, but the story of a person being rebuilt by me to become a place where restoration is received, preserved, and allowed to flow. You are not only stepping out of the darkness to stand alone in the light, you are being brought out of the darkness to become a gentle lamp for those who are still lost in the shadows. What I am doing within you is not a temporary patch, not a coat of paint over old ruins, but a work that reaches down to the roots, where I touch the layers of pain you once thought no one could see, and then breathe into them the breath of new life. As I have spoken, behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21:5. That is not only for the new heaven and the new earth in the final day, it is also a promise already at work within your soul today. I know there were times when you looked at yourself and thought that what had happened to you had become your name. You once thought loss was your destiny, woundedness was your identity, and disappointment was an unchangeable portion of your life. But my child, I have never called you by the name of your pain. I do not see you through what others have done, through the places where you have fallen, or through the seasons when you thought you had been left behind. I called you by love before you knew how to call yourself by hope. In Christ, the old things are no longer permitted to sit upon the throne and rule over you. For if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You are not a copy of the past. You are the work I am recreating. The old pages may once have carried the ink of tears, but my hand is opening a new chapter, where grace writes with light. Perhaps you still quietly ask why there were paths you had to walk through in loneliness, why certain promises seemed to arrive late, why certain people left at the very moment when you most needed them to stay. I do not take those questions lightly, for I heard them in the nights when you could not put them into words. But let me teach you something deeper. Not everything you lose is a robbery, and not every crack is a sign of an ending. There are things taken from your hands, so that your heart may have room to receive what cannot perish. There are places where you were broken open not to be destroyed, but so that I could pour healing oil there. And from the very place that was once fractured, my light could shine through. Just as soil must be plowed before seed is sown, your heart has also gone through seasons of being turned over. But I do not plow in order to leave the land abandoned. I prepare it so the harvest may come. Remember Naomi, the woman who left Bethlehem during a famine and returned with hands that seemed empty. She had lost her husband, her sons, and her old vision of the future, to the point that she said, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me." Ruth 1:20. But do you see, her story did not end in bitterness. In that tearful return, I had prepared Ruth, a faithful heart. I had prepared Boaz, a redeemer, and I had prepared a lineage from which David would be born. And through that line, Christ would enter human history. What Naomi thought was the final chapter of loss became a link in the great plan of redemption. My beloved child, there are parts of your life that you thought were nothing but ruin. Yet in my hands, they can become the place where blessing opens beyond anything you ever asked for. Therefore, do not despise the tears you have shed. I do not allow them to fall to the ground as something meaningless. Before me, every tear has a voice. Every night has a testimony. And every silent pain is remembered in the Father's love. My word has written, "You number my wanderings. Put my tears into your bottle." Psalm 56:8. You thought you were crying alone, but I was there. You thought no one knew how hard you had to try to keep breathing, to keep believing, to keep from becoming bitter. But I knew, and those very tears, when placed in my hands, will not only remain traces of sorrow, they will become water for the seeds you did not yet realize had been planted within your heart. There will come a time when you meet souls who are standing where you once stood, trembling at the edge of despair, wondering whether they can still be healed. Then you will not come to them with the cold words of someone who has never touched pain. You will come with the gentleness of one whom I have lifted up. You will know how to be silent when words are not yet needed, how to hold a hand without rushing to judge, how to speak of hope without denying tears. That is the authority I place within you, not the authority of pride, but the authority of one who has been healed deeply enough to no longer use wounds as weapons. You will not boast that you overcame. You will testify that I was faithful. You will not merely tell of pain. You will show others the path that grace has opened. I also want you to understand that restoration is not only being brought back into peace, but being placed rightly within my will. When Joseph stood before the brothers who had wounded him, he was no longer the young man thrown into the pit, nor was he still the forgotten prisoner. I had raised him up, not for revenge, but to preserve life. He said, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Genesis 50:20. My child, This is the sign of mature restoration, when what once hurt you no longer controls your response. When you can look back without being pulled again into the old chains. When you can say that I have wasted nothing. I do not call evil good, but I have the power to turn what the enemy used to make you fall into a step that leads you into your calling. Therefore, let your heart stop fearing your past. What happened no longer has enough authority to define you. If you have placed your life in my hands, I am taking ashes and giving you a crown of beauty. I am exchanging the garment of mourning for the oil of joy. Just as Isaiah 61:3 proclaimed over those who mourn in Zion, you do not need to deny that you were once in pain, but you must also not forget that I am greater than what wounded you. You do not need to erase your memories by your own strength, but let me sanctify those memories, so that when you remember, you do not only see the wound, but also see my hand that bandaged it, not only the place where you fell, but the place where I bent down to lift you up, not only what was lost, but what I am causing to grow from the part that seemed barren. My beloved child, your new chapter does not begin when everything outside becomes perfect, but when you believe that I am still working within you. Receive the restoration I give. Do not stand outside the door of grace as though you are not worthy to enter. Let my love go deeper than your shame. Let my truth be stronger than condemnation. Let my peace cover the places in your heart that once learned to defend themselves. And when you have been filled, simply allow that water to flow out naturally. A word of comfort at the right time. A look full of compassion. A silent prayer. A presence that does not walk away. All of these can become channels of my healing. You did not overcome merely to survive. You are being restored to become a living witness that, in my hands, no brokenness is useless, no tear is forgotten, and no soul is too far to be made new again by my everlasting love. My beloved child, let this word sink deeply into the most hidden place of your heart. You have never had to walk alone. Even in seasons when you felt as though the whole world was silent before your pain, perhaps your natural eyes have only seen the long road, the winding paths, the closed doors, and the empty places not yet filled. But the eyes of faith will recognize that beneath every trembling step of yours is my hand sustaining you. I do not only stand at the end of the journey waiting for you to arrive. I am in every step, every breath, every time you try to rise again after a weary night. As I spoke through Isaiah, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10. Do you see? I did not merely promise to watch you from afar. I promised to uphold you with my own right hand. There are days when you thought you were fighting everything by yourself. Yet in truth, my grace had already gone quietly before you, long ago. Before you reached a trial, I had already placed a limit within it. Before you encountered a closed door, I had already prepared another turn. Before you stepped into a meeting that seemed accidental, I already knew that encounter would sow into your life a sign, a lesson, a connection, or a protection. You often call many things coincidence, but in my hands, nothing is abandoned to be ruled by chaos. Not even a falling leaf is outside my knowledge. How much more every step you take, every sigh you breathe, every turning point in the journey through which I am leading you. So when you do not yet understand why something happened, do not quickly conclude that I was absent. There are arrangements of mine that only become clear after you have walked a little farther. Like a mountain climber who cannot see the whole view while still in the valley. But once he ascends higher, he realizes that every small path has been leading in one direction. I know you have had nights when your body lay still, but your heart could not rest, nights when you told no one. Yet your soul echoed with countless questions. Why did you have to carry so much? Why? Though you tried to live kindly, did you still encounter seasons of pain? Why were there people who did not understand you? Words that wounded you, and chapters of life that made you feel forgotten? My beloved child, I was there in every one of those nights. I did not only see your tears, I heard even the prayers that had no words. Hidden beneath the tears, the Psalms have written, "The Lord is near to those who have a broken heart, and saves such as have a contrite spirit." Psalm 34:18. I am near to you, not only when you are strong, not only when you can sing the song of victory, but even when you have only enough strength left to whisper my name in the darkness. And it was in that very darkness that you were formed in a way that easy light could never have accomplished. I do not create pain in order to shatter you, but I have the authority to step into the midst of pain and turn it into the place where you are trained, deepened, softened, and made more steadfast. Some of your tears have become water for seeds you have not yet seen. There were times when you were pressed to let go, not because I wanted to leave you empty-handed, but because I was freeing your hands from what no longer fit, so that you could receive something greater. There were times when you thought you were being delayed, but in truth, I was saving you from entering a season that was not yet ripe. Remember what has been written. All things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. All things does not mean that everything is pleasant, but it means that nothing is beyond my redeeming power. Remember the story of Elijah when he fled into the wilderness, exhausted to the point that he only wanted everything to stop. He had been the one who saw fire come down from heaven, the one who stood among the people as a powerful witness. And yet afterward he was still weary, still afraid, still lying beneath the broom tree and saying that he had no strength left. But I did not come to him with heavy words of rebuke. I sent an angel to touch him, to give him bread and water, and then I allowed him to rest. Only after that did I lead him to Mount Horeb to hear my voice in the gentle whisper. Do you see? When you are exhausted, I do not always demand that you rise immediately to prove your faith. Sometimes what I give first is support, a place of rest, nourishment for the body, and peace for the soul. I know that you are dust. I know your strength has limits, and I never despise a weary child who is still turning back toward the Father. Therefore, do not be afraid of the seasons when you feel yourself growing weak. Weakness in my hands is not the end. It can become the doorway through which you learn to depend on me more deeply. When you no longer have enough strength to lift yourself up, you will discover that I am the one who raises you from the lowest place. When you no longer have enough clarity to understand everything, you will learn to walk by trust. When you can no longer hold on to the things you once tried to control, you will see that my hand is far wider than yours. My word, I will never leave you nor forsake you, Hebrews 13:5, is not merely an ornament for peaceful days, but an anchor that holds you in the days when storms rise. I do not leave you when you are slow. I do not abandon you when you tremble. I do not turn my face away when you cry. I remain your Father even in the moments when you do not feel worthy of being loved. There are things you once thought were losses, but one day you will recognize them as protection. There were doors you prayed would open, yet I kept them closed because behind them was something that would have worn you down. There were people who left your life and caused you pain, but their departure created space for you to breathe, to hear me more clearly, and to return to your true identity. There were plans that fell apart not because you were forgotten, but because I was stopping you from building on an unstable foundation. I am the one who sees what you do not yet see, who knows what you do not yet know, and who loves you more than the things you are holding tightly. So when a path closes, do not be quick to call it failure. Bring it into my presence and ask, Father, what are you protecting me from? And what are you leading me toward? My beloved child, I am teaching you to see your life as a sacred song being written note by note, not as scattered sounds without meaning. A low note does not ruin the music, it gives the song depth. A silence is not the end. It prepares the next passage to resound. The encounters, the delays, the answers that came late, the times when you had to return and learn an old lesson again with a new heart, all of these can be woven by me into an order more beautiful than what you are able to see now. You are not being swept away by chance. You are being shepherded by the one who knows your name. As Psalm 23 declares, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." The shepherd does not only lead the flock beside green pastures, he also walks with them through the valley of the shadow of death. And even in that valley, my rod and my staff still comfort you. So today, breathe gently again in my presence. Do not force yourself to understand everything immediately. Do not condemn yourself because there are times when you are weary. Do not see your tears as evidence of failure, because many times tears are a sign that your heart is still tender, still alive, still able to be touched by me. Those tears will not be wasted. I will use them to make you gentler with others, deeper in prayer, more sensitive in discernment, and more steadfast in your mission. One day, you will stand before a hurting soul, and you will know how to comfort them, not with empty words, but with the peace I have forged within your own life. Keep walking, my child, but do not walk like one who has been abandoned. Walk as one who is being kept. I go before you to prepare the way, even in places you have not yet reached. I walk beside you to remind you that you are not alone. I come behind you to heal the old footprints, to protect what you have already overcome, and to keep the past from pulling you back into the place from which I have brought you out. When you are weak, lean on me. When you do not understand, trust me. When you are tired, let me strengthen you. When you are afraid, listen again to the Father's voice speaking within your heart. I am here. I am still holding your hand, and your journey is not held in chaos, but in the loving plan I am completing with faithfulness that never changes. My beloved child, the time has come for you to no longer remain standing at the threshold of what I am calling you to enter. I know there are parts of your heart that still tremble, still listen to the echo of words that once made you shrink back, words that caused you to doubt your worth, words that planted within you the thought that you were not good enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough to be sent. But today I want you to hear a voice greater than all those voices. You belong to me. And because you belong to me, you also belong to a purpose higher than your fear, higher than your past, and higher than the limits others once tried to place upon you. You were not created to live like a quiet shadow hiding at the edge of life. You were created to carry my mark within you, to walk in the light I have kindled, and to become a gentle yet powerful witness that grace can make a soul new from the deepest place. Do not allow the words that made you feel small to build a home inside your heart. Some words are only noise, not truth. Some judgments come from the wounds of others, not from my heart. There were looks that once made you feel less valuable. But my child, my gaze is the true mirror for your soul. I do not call you by your failure. I do not measure you by comparison. I do not define you by the years in which you had to learn how to rise again after pain. My word has spoken. I have called you by your name. You are mine. Isaiah 43:1. When you understand to whom you belong, you will no longer so easily hand over your identity to voices that do not know how to love you with everlasting love. Let my word be the foundation beneath your feet. not the words of people. I know you have delayed many times while waiting to become more perfect. You thought that when your heart no longer had any scratches, when your memories no longer hurt, when you had every answer, then you could step out. But, my beloved child, I do not send out people who have never been wounded. I send out those who have allowed me to touch their wounds. I do not need you to act as though you have no past. I want you to carry the very story I have redeemed. Because within that story, there is anointing oil. There is truth. There are tears that have been sanctified. And there is light born after a long night. Just as Paul was once a persecutor of the church, but after encountering Christ on the road to Damascus, became an instrument to proclaim the gospel to the nations. I can also turn what others thought was a reason to disqualify you into evidence that my power can redirect an entire life. By the grace of God, I am what I am, 1 Corinthians 15. This too will become a living testimony upon your lips. There are souls waiting for what I have placed within you, not because you are above them, but because I have led you through a stretch of road they are now facing. Someone needs to hear encouragement from a heart that has known weariness. Someone needs to see a light that is not glaring with pride, but warm, near, and true. Someone needs to be reminded that they can still rise again, and your very presence will become that reminder. You do not need a great pulpit in order to serve me. A sincere conversation, a silent prayer, a hand extended at the right moment, patience shown when another person is still weak. All of these can become doorways through which my love enters their life. When the Lord said, "Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations," Matthew 28:19, that word did not speak only of distant journeys, but also of daily obedience, where you carry my light into the spaces where you already live. Therefore, do not compare your portion with the portion of another. In the body there are many members, yet each member has been given its function with wisdom. The eye cannot say to the hand, "I have no need of you," nor can the head say to the feet, "I have no need of you." As 1 Corinthians 12 has revealed, the portion I have entrusted to you may not look like the portion of the person beside you, but that does not make it smaller. There are hidden missions that uphold an entire generation. There are prayers no one sees that shake things in the unseen realm. There are acts of love that are not recognized by the crowd, but are written in my heart. You do not need to imitate another person's light. The lamp I have kindled within you has its own shade, its own position, its own appointed hour, and the people who need precisely that light. Remember Esther, the young woman who seemed to have been brought into the palace through a series of events beyond her control. But at the appointed time, Mordecai said to her, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Esther 4:14. Esther had to step beyond her own safety, face danger, and use her position to save her people. My beloved child, there are things I have placed in your life that are not accidental. The places you have passed through, the lessons you have received, the gifts you carry, the encounters I have arranged, all of these are preparing you for moments when your obedience will mean more than you imagine. You do not need to understand the full measure of your influence before you are willing to step. You only need to know that I am the one who has called you. What once wounded you will no longer be chains if you place it in my hands. I can turn wounds into a birthplace of compassion, tears into spiritual sensitivity, seasons of being misunderstood into discerning wisdom, loneliness into depth in prayer, and disappointment into a hope that is no longer easily shaken. You will not step forward as one who denies the past, but as one whom I have freed from the power of the past. The things that once caused you to doubt yourself will become evidence that I kept you through places you thought you could never pass through. The pages once soaked with tears will become a testimony that my love does not give up halfway. As Psalm 30:11 says, You have turned my mourning into dancing. So I am also changing your heavy garment into a garment of praise. Now, step out with holy assurance, not the assurance that comes from controlling everything, but the assurance that comes from knowing whose hand is holding yours. Do not delay simply because you are still learning. Do not remain silent simply because you were once made afraid. Do not hide the light simply because some people do not understand your journey. The Lord has said, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Matthew 5:15. The light within you is not meant to feed pride, but to serve love. It is not so that you may be exalted, but so that others may see me through the tenderness, courage, faithfulness, and hope I am placing in you. My child, the trial did not define you. I am the one who defines you. The darkness did not swallow you. My grace preserved you. The words that made you feel small no longer have the authority to command your future. My calling is the sound that now guides your life. Go, but go in humility. Serve, but serve from fullness in me. Speak, but let your words carry the fragrance of life. Touch others, but always remember that I am the one who heals through you. You did not merely survive the difficult seasons, you were transformed in them, refined in them, and prepared in them. And now, I send you out like a lamp in a place that needs light, like a stream in a dry land, like a word of hope where human hearts have grown weary. Step out, my beloved child, for there are places that have been waiting for the light I placed within you for a very long time. My beloved child, do not build your stability upon things that can change in a moment. Do not place your soul upon the praise of people, upon passing emotions, upon outward signs, upon today's convenience or tomorrow's recognition. Those things can come and go like morning clouds. They may lift you for a moment, then leave you disappointed when they disappear. I do not want you to walk with a fragile confidence that only shines when circumstances are beautiful and goes out when the wind begins to rise. I want you to recognize a stability that is deeper, holier, and more enduring, the stability that comes from knowing that I am living within you, holding you, and becoming the foundation beneath your feet. As it is written, the Lord is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer. Psalm 18:2. When I am your rock, the storm no longer has the authority to decide whether you will be able to stand. The storm only reveals the foundation upon which you have placed your life. There are seasons when I allow you to pass through uncertainty, not to confuse you, but to purify the habit within you of believing only when everything is already clear. If you only walk when you can see the whole road, then you are walking by sight and have not yet truly learned to walk by faith. I do not condemn you for wanting to understand. I know your heart needs safety, needs answers, needs signs in order to feel at rest. But my child, there are things that belong to me which are not opened by control, but by surrender. There are doors that only appear when you draw near. There are answers that can only be understood after you have obeyed. There are turns that at first seem uncertain, but once you have passed through them, you will recognize that my hand was quietly placing each stone beneath your feet. Therefore, do not be afraid when the way ahead is not yet fully lit. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. Psalm 119:105. And that lamp is always enough for the next step. I know you still carry questions deep within your heart. Questions you do not easily speak because you fear being seen as lacking faith. You wonder whether you have truly heard my voice, whether this path really leads to life, whether the things you are releasing will be replaced with something good. Bring those questions to me. Do not bury them beneath a shell of strength. I am not afraid of the truth within your heart. I am your Father, not a cold judge standing far away, waiting for you to fail. When Thomas could not immediately believe in the resurrection, Christ did not remove him from love, but drew near and allowed him to touch the nail marks. Do you see? I do not despise a heart that is seeking certainty. I simply do not want you to allow doubt to become the master of your steps. Let doubt be brought into the light, so that I may turn it into a deeper knowledge of my faithfulness. And when you commit your way to me, you do not lose your life. You find it again in its most rightful order. The world teaches you to hold tightly, to control, to secure every outcome for yourself. But I teach you another way. Commit your way to the Lord, trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. Psalm 37:5. Commitment is not giving up in despair. Commitment is the act of a soul that knows the Father's hand is wider than its own. Surrender does not make you passive. It frees you from carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. You still walk, still do what is right, still remain faithful in the portion entrusted to you. But you no longer have to carry the entire future on your shoulders, as though I had left my throne. Remember Gideon, who once hid in the winepress because he feared the Midianites. When my angel came to him, that man did not look like a warrior in his own eyes. He saw himself as small, weak, from a lowly family, with nothing significant to offer. But I called him by a name that fear had never dared to call him. The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. My beloved child, I do not call you according to the image of you trembling in the present moment. I call you according to what I have placed within you and what I will complete through you. Gideon did not overcome because he suddenly became extraordinary. He overcame because he learned that my presence is enough to turn a fearful person into an instrument of deliverance. You are the same. Do not let your feeling of smallness argue with my calling. In this season, I do not promise that everything will be easy in the way you desire. But I do promise that everything can become a place where you grow if you remain in me. Ease does not always nourish the soul. There are blessings that can only sustain you when your inner life has become deep enough to carry them. There are doors I will open, but before you walk through them, you need to learn to stand firm in your identity, so that when you are lifted up, you do not lose humility. When more is entrusted to you, you do not forget the source who gave it. When you see results, you do not worship the results instead of worshiping me. Therefore, the trials ahead are not meant to crush you. They are the place where I cause your roots to grow deeper, your faith to become purer, and your obedience to mature. A tree cannot bear fruit in its season if its roots are unwilling to go deep into the soil. I spoke through Jeremiah, saying, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." Jeremiah 29:11. Remember, this word was given to a people living in exile, not standing in a palace of comfort. That means my intention of peace is not canceled by difficult circumstances. When you are in an unfinished season, I am still thinking good thoughts toward you. When you have not yet seen full deliverance, I am still preparing the future. When you feel as though you are in a foreign land, I can still cause hope to spring up in the very place where you thought there was only waiting. Do not measure my goodness by how quickly your circumstances change. Measure it by the cross, where my love revealed that I did not spare my only son in order to bring you back into life. Therefore, release the need to understand everything before you are willing to step. Release the obsession with knowing every exact outcome before you obey. Release the weariness of a soul that keeps trying to control what belongs only in my hands. Faith is not closing your eyes and walking into darkness. Faith is opening your eyes to look at me and following my voice, even when the darkness has not fully lifted. Let my voice become the compass within your heart, above the confusion of fear. above the opinions of people, above the predictions that cause you to shrink back. When you do not know how to go forward, seek me. When you do not know what to choose, listen for the peace I place in the hidden depths. When you do not know what tomorrow will bring, remember that tomorrow has never been outside my rule. Then you will see that every small step you take in trust is not small in my plan. A quiet act of obedience today can open the way for a fruitful season tomorrow. A decision to let go today can release you from chains that have lasted for years. An act of faithfulness today can become a brick in the work whose full picture you have not yet seen. I began the painting of your life before you recognized the first color, and I will not abandon what my hand has started. As Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will complete it until the day of Christ." Rest in this. I am not only the one who calls you to walk, I am also the one who keeps you on the road, corrects what has gone crooked, heals what is wounded, gives strength where there is weakness, and fulfills what I have promised with faithfulness that never diminishes. So today, step out not with the pride of one who thinks they know everything, but with the peace of one who knows they are being held. Step out not because you are certain of every detail, but because you are certain of your Father. Step out not because you have no more questions, but because you have learned to place those questions in the palm of my hand. I am your foundation, your rock, the one who leads you through dim places and gives light to each step at the right time. The things ahead will not destroy you when you remain in me. They will cause you to grow, to bear fruit, and to become more complete in love. Trust me, my beloved child. The greater picture was begun by me long ago, and every brushstroke of your life, even the ones you once did not understand, is being gathered by me into a masterpiece of grace, where in the end you will look back and say, "The Father led me with love, and not one step in his hands was wasted." My beloved child, learn to recognize my ways, not only through great things that astonish your eyes, but also through the very gentle movements in the hidden depths of your soul. I do not always come to you with thunder echoing on the mountaintop. I do not always lead you with radiant signs that make every doubt disappear at once. Many times I come like a soft wind touching the place where your heart is tense, like a quiet peace descending in the middle of tangled thoughts, like a very small reminder that is still enough to let you know you have not been abandoned. You have grown accustomed to the noise of the world, accustomed to pressure, accustomed to voices demanding that you hurry, prove yourself, and react immediately. But my voice does not fight for its place through chaos. My voice carries power, but that power is clothed in gentleness. My voice is deep, but it does not crush your soul. My voice is holy, but it always carries life. There are times when you think that if I am truly leading, everything must become clear at once. Every door must open immediately. Every answer must appear like writing on the wall. But I teach you another rhythm, a rhythm that belongs to the kingdom of heaven, where guidance does not begin with outward noise, but with inward listening. Elijah once stood before a mighty wind that tore through the mountains, before an earthquake that shook the ground, and before a great fire that blazed. Yet I did not choose to reveal myself in those fierce manifestations. Then after the fire came a still small voice, 1 Kings 19:12. And it was in that gentleness that my weary servant recognized the presence of his Father. My beloved child, you too will recognize me in this way. When you stop chasing every sound that scatters you, when you lay down the fear of having to understand everything immediately, and when you allow your heart to become quiet enough to hear what I am saying. I know there are days when your mind feels like water being stirred, when one thought has not even passed before another comes rushing in, when one question has not settled before a new worry rises. You want to know where to go, what to choose, what to release, what to keep, whether to continue or to stop. But my child, I do not lead you through confusion. Confusion may come from fear, from old memories, from the pressures around you, but my guidance always carries the mark of peace. Not peace because everything is easy, but peace that surpasses understanding. As Philippians 4:7 says, the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. When I confirm something within you, it may not cause you to know the whole future, but it will cause your heart to stop thrashing in fear. It will be like a small lamp placed in the right place, giving enough light for the next step. Do not despise the gentle confirmations I place along your path. A scripture returning to your heart at the right moment. A reminder from someone who does not know what you have been praying about. A door closing, yet bringing with it a strange sense of release. A small direction suddenly becoming clearer after many days of uncertainty. All of these can be ways in which I touch you. I do not force you with cold power. I do not drag you along as though you had no will. I invite you, lead you, and teach you to discern, so that your obedience will not be a reaction born out of panic, but a response born out of love. The Lord has said, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. You belong to me, so you can learn to recognize my voice. At first, you may still be confused, still ask again and again, still need time to distinguish it, but I am patient with you. A gracious father does not rebuke his child for learning how to listen. I will teach you with the steadfastness of love. Remember Samuel when he was still young in the temple. He heard the call in the night but thought it was Eli's voice, because he was not yet accustomed to recognizing my voice. I did not rebuke him for what he did not yet understand. I called again and again, until he knew how to answer. Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. 1 Samuel 3:10. Do you see? I do not only call those who are already skilled in discernment, I also call hearts that are still young but willing. I can patiently repeat the invitation, gradually make clear what you do not yet understand, and lead you step by step into deeper intimacy with me. What I seek is not a soul that is confident it knows everything, but a soul humble enough to pause, listen, and say, Father, teach me. Perhaps, before the things that lie ahead, you still feel small. You look at the responsibility, the calling, the souls that need to be touched, the doors that are beginning to open, and you wonder whether you have enough strength to continue. But my beloved child, I have never chosen you only to leave you to manage everything by yourself. When I call, I also equip. When I send, I also go with you. When I place a seed within you, I also know how to nourish it until it grows in its proper season. He who calls you is faithful, who also will do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. You do not need to turn yourself into a perfect person in order to be worthy of the calling. You only need to remain in me, so that I may do my work in you, through you, and beyond you. Therefore, do not let fear make you believe that you must carry the entire journey by your own strength. Fear often tells you that if you do not control everything, you will fail. If you do not understand every detail, you will lose your way. If you are not strong immediately, you cannot continue. But I tell you that true strength does not always appear loud. Sometimes strength is the quietness of a heart that still believes while it has not yet seen. Sometimes strength is standing firm for one more day, praying one more prayer, forgiving one more step, remaining faithful in one more small thing. As Zechariah 4:6 has written, "Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit. You will not go far by earthly striving, but by my Spirit lifting you from within." Darkness may cause you to forget for a moment that light has been planted in you, but darkness cannot extinguish what I have kindled. That light is not shallow self-confidence, nor is it the appearance of strength used to hide weak places. That light is my presence within a person who is learning to live truthfully, to trust, and to walk in obedience. When you abide in me, even your tenderness can become a place where grace is revealed. When you let me lead, even small steps carry heavenly meaning. When you listen to my voice, you will recognize that not every bright road is the right road, and not every quiet road is the wrong road. There are paths of mine that appear very humble in the beginning, yet they lead you into life deeper than you ever imagined. Now I call you not as a passing thought, not as an emotion that comes and goes, but as an invitation placed in love before you fully understood yourself. This is not an accidental moment. This is a sacred appointment where I touch your heart and remind you that you were not created merely to observe life from a distance. You are invited to step into intimacy with me, into true transformation, into the flow of grace where you do not only hear about me, but experience me, where you do not only know me through words, but recognize me in every decision, every movement, every quiet season, and every door opened at the right time. So stand firm in my gentleness. Let your heart open. Do not close it because you fear being wrong, fear being hurt, or fear not being enough. I do not push you into the future like a stranger. I lead you as a father leads his child along a road he already knows well. When you are confused, pause and listen. When you are weak, lean on me. When you are not yet clear, follow the nearest light I have given. When you are afraid, remember that the one who calls you is faithful and will complete what he has begun. I am nearer than the noise, deeper than the worry, and more enduring than every change. And if you are willing to listen in holy stillness, you will recognize that my voice is still speaking within your heart. Come closer, my beloved child, for what I have for you is not only a road to walk, but an encounter that will renew you from the inside out. My beloved child, there are prayers you thought had dissolved into silence, but in my realm, not one of your sighs has been forgotten. There were nights when you no longer had the strength to pray with words, and could only sit still with a heavy heart. But I heard even that silence as the deepest cry. You thought that because the answer had not yet come. I was not responding because the door had not yet opened. I was not acting because the circumstances had not yet changed. I was still standing far away. But my child, I have never left the place of your pain. The silence you feel is not the emptiness of abandonment, but often the sacred room where I am quietly preparing what your eyes have not seen, your ears have not heard, and your heart cannot yet fully imagine. I am not delayed in the way you fear. I am working according to eternal wisdom, where all things are placed in the right season, at the right time, and in the right order of grace. Let your heart remember that I am not only concerned with changing what is happening around you, I also desire to touch the very foundation within you. If I only opened a door while your heart remained chained by fear, you would walk through it, still carrying the old identity. If I only brought a new circumstance while your mind still believed the old lies, you would stand in a new place, but continue living like someone imprisoned in an invisible cell. That is why what I am doing is deeper than what you once asked for. You asked for a way out, but I am giving you freedom. You asked for a sign, but I am renewing the way you see. You asked for an answer, but I am leading you into a more intimate knowledge of me. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. John 8:32. That truth does not only break the lies outside of you, it touches the place where you once doubted yourself, belittled yourself, and believed that you were no longer worthy of being fully loved. I have seen the seasons when waiting wore you down. I know the moments when you wondered whether hope was something too costly for you. I know the times when you smiled before others while inside you had almost given up. Yet, my beloved child, the hope you place in me does not fall to the ground like a dead seed. Before me, every small seed of hope is cherished, preserved, and watered by my faithfulness. There are seeds that remain in the darkness of the soil for a very long time, not because they have been forgotten, but because they are being covered so they may sprout. You cannot see the roots growing, but that does not mean life is not at work. Romans 8:28 has revealed that all things work together for good to those who love God. And I want you to understand that word through the depth of faith. I can gather even the seasons of waiting, the answers that arrived late, the wounds not yet fully healed, and the doors that closed, and weave them into a goodness greater than your present understanding. Now, you are standing near a threshold that your soul has sensed for a long time, though you have not yet been able to name it. This is not merely a small change on the surface of life, nor merely a passing convenience that makes your heart feel lighter for a moment. This is a deep turning point, where I will no longer allow you to return to living under old chains as though you had never been touched. There were thoughts that repeated again and again in your mind, saying that you were not enough, that you were too late, that you had been left behind, that you could not be fully restored. But those voices did not come from me. I am bringing my truth like light into every dark corner, so that lies will no longer have a place to hide. You will not only be comforted, you will be reshaped. You will not only be lifted up, you will learn to walk with a new identity. You are not a person defined by years of exhaustion. You are one whom I have called by name, held by covenant, and renewed by love that never changes. Remember the woman who suffered from the issue of blood for 12 years. 12 years was not only a measure of time, it was a life being worn down day after day. Hopes once lit and then extinguished. Money exhausted. The body weakened. Dignity wounded. And an isolation that few could understand. She had sought healing from many human hands, but every effort only left her more weary. Then, in the middle of the pressing crowd, she had no long prayer, no prominent position, and no one to make a path for her. She only carried a trembling yet genuine faith, thinking within herself that if she could only touch the garment of the Lord, she would be made well. And when she touched the hem of Christ's garment, power flowed out. What had continued for many years was reversed in one sacred moment. Mark 5:25-34. Do you see? What has lasted for years is not difficult for my power. What has grown deep is not deeper than my grace. What you thought had become your fate can still be changed when your faith reaches out and touches me. But look more deeply into that story. I did not merely heal her body and then allow her to disappear quietly into the crowd. Christ stopped, called her out of hiding, and said, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace." That word did not only confirm the miracle, it restored her identity. The one who had been considered unclean was called daughter. The one who had lived in shame was brought into peace. The one who had touched the Lord in secret was publicly affirmed by the Lord with compassion. My beloved child, I also do not want you merely to have one problem solved and then continue living in the shadow of shame. I want to call you out of your hiding place. I want to place upon you again the name of love. I want you to know that true healing is not only the ending of pain, but no longer living as someone whose dignity has been taken away. Therefore, Do not be afraid when I begin to touch the deep layers you once avoided looking at. Perhaps renewal will begin with me shining light on a false belief you have carried for far too long. Perhaps I will remind you to release an old condemnation, to forgive yourself, to leave behind a way of thinking that has made you shrink. Perhaps I will close the roads that once fed your insecurity, in order to open a road that requires you to trust me more. Do not resist the healing hand simply because it touches a place that is still tender. The compassionate physician does not touch in order to wound you further, but to remove what has been quietly causing you pain. I am the one who heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147:3. I know which places need to be bandaged, which places need to be cleansed, which places need to be filled with light, and which places need to be called back to life. You are closer than you think. Not closer because you have tried enough, but because I have been faithful throughout the journey. Not closer because you are no longer weak, but because you have learned to bring your weakness near to me. Not closer because every question has been answered, but because your heart is beginning to recognize the Father's voice more clearly amid the noise of fear. Come to me with genuine faith, even if that faith right now looks only like a trembling hand reaching out in the middle of the crowd. I do not despise that trembling. I see the heart behind it. One touch of faith can open what years of effort could not accomplish, because the power is not in the strength of your reaching, but in the one you are reaching toward. My beloved child, stand before this threshold with humility and hope. Do not use old disappointments as the measure for what I am about to do. Do not let yesterday's delay convince you that tomorrow cannot blossom. I am writing a change of season not only over your circumstances, but within the very roots of your soul. I am removing chains you have grown so used to carrying that you thought they were part of you. I am replacing lies with truth, fear with peace, exhaustion with new strength, and shame with the identity of one who is loved. Draw near to me. Let your heart touch me with faith that does not need to perform. And when I touch you in return, you will recognize that no prayer has been forgotten, no tear has been wasted, no season of waiting has been meaningless. For in my hands, even what has lasted for many years can be made new in one holy moment of love and power. My beloved child, there are moments in life that do not arrive like just another ordinary day, because when I step in deeply, your soul can no longer continue living as though it has never been touched. A true encounter with me always leaves a mark beyond memory, beyond a passing emotion, beyond the stirring of a single moment. It goes down to the roots, touching the place where you once feared, where you once defended yourself, where you once grew accustomed to living under the shadow of the past. And from there I begin to renew the way you see, the way you walk, the way you believe, and the way you belong to yourself in me. When Jacob wrestled through the night at the brook of Jabbok, he entered that place with fear, with a deceitful past, with unresolved things in his heart. But when dawn came, he was no longer merely the Jacob of the old day. I placed upon him a new name, a new mark, and a new destiny. You are the same. When the moment I have appointed comes, you will not only be comforted for a little while, you will be marked by transformation, so that what once held you will no longer have the authority to name you. I know you have become used to waiting with your eyes fixed on what has not yet happened. You look at the door that is not opened, the promise that has not yet taken shape, the answer that has not arrived, the details that remain unclear, and your heart is easily pulled toward worry. But my child, if your eyes remain fastened only on what is still missing, you will forget to look up at the one who is sufficient in all things. If your heart measures the present only by the empty space before you, you will not recognize the quiet preparation taking place behind it. I do not want you to live like someone standing outside the door of grace, continually wondering whether you are invited in. My word is spoken. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him. Revelation 3:20. I do not come to frighten you. I come to have fellowship, to heal, to enter the rooms of your heart that you once locked because of pain, and to bring light into the place where you thought only darkness remained. Do not allow fear of what you have not yet seen to make you shrink back from what I am doing. Fear always wants you to close the door before the blessing knocks. It tells you to protect yourself by no longer hoping, not opening your heart too wide, not trusting too deeply, not stepping too far. Because if you are disappointed again, you will not be able to bear it. But I tell you that fear is not your shepherd. It has no right to hold the staff that directs your life. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. What I have placed within you is not blind recklessness, nor the loud confidence of the flesh. It is the steadiness of a soul that knows it is loved, kept, led, and equipped to step into what I have prepared. Open your heart wide, but not with haste. Open your hands, but not with greed that grasps at everything that appears good. Be ready, but be ready with discernment. For what I give does not always come in the form you imagined, does not always arrive at the hour you marked in your mind, and does not always pass through the path you consider most reasonable. The people of Israel longed for deliverance from Egypt, but the way I led them passed through the Red Sea. Mary received the announcement of the Savior, but that glory began in a humble stable. The disciples expected a kingdom according to human understanding, but eternal victory came through the cross and the empty tomb. My beloved child, I am not limited by your patterns. My perfection often comes in a form so humble that only a listening heart can recognize it. Perhaps you are still asking, Father, how will I know that I am ready? I tell you that readiness is not when you no longer tremble, but when you no longer allow trembling to rule your obedience. Readiness is not when you understand every layer of meaning, but when you know how to place both what you understand and what you do not yet understand into my hands. Readiness is not when you are completely free from every trace of the old journey, but when you allow me to turn those traces into testimony, wisdom, compassion, and depth. Keep your heart tender before me. A tender heart is not weak. It is good soil that can receive the seed of the kingdom of heaven. A hardened heart may protect itself from pain, but it can also close itself to life. But a tender heart in my hands will be planted, watered, and made to blossom in its proper season. When you enter that moment, you will see that freedom is not only escaping what hurt you, but no longer being controlled by it from within. You may remember, but you will not be pulled backward. You may tell the story, but you will no longer be chained by shame. You may look at the place that once made you afraid and still stand firm, because I have placed within you a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. This is the freedom I want you to live in, not freedom to wander far from me, but freedom to draw near to me without hiding, freedom to love without being distorted by the past, freedom to walk without asking permission from fear, freedom to become the person I called you to be before wounds tried to rename you. Stand firm in faith. My beloved child, standing firm does not mean you are never emotional, never shaken, or never in need of support. Standing firm means that after every shaking, you still return to me. After every question, you still choose to trust. After every wind, you still let your feet cling to the rock. Let your expectation be purified from impatience. Let your hope be protected from narrow predictions. Let your heart be ready to say, as Mary said, "Behold the maidservant of the Lord. Let it be to me according to your word. Luke 1:38. That is the response of a soul that does not understand every consequence, yet recognizes that the one who speaks is faithful.